Hello, this is Debbie, and this is Light Up Your Word podcast. And I am so excited today to bring you Sandie Lene. Oh my gosh. See, there I go. So Sandie, just to give you an idea of who we're going to be talking to, she's been blessed at birth with many psychic abilities. She has centered herself and her career on helping people by giving intuitive and spirit readings, if that's exciting. So, in her profession as Sandie Psychic Stones, she uses 117 stones and a few earth elements. And she gives upbeat, informative, and interesting psych readings, helping those interested with their present day concerns and aiding their knowledge of future events. And she's been reading publicly since 1984. I mean, this is amazing. She also hosts a TV show. She's written many, many, many books, and she just has a long bio that is just full of so many interesting things. I've caught her radio show as well, and highly recommended. And I'll share more about that too as we go on. So welcome, Sandie.
Well, thank you. This is a true honor to be on your podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and sorry about the name. I know I just practiced, and oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's this lifetime's journey. Punctuation. So,
well, if you know my maiden name, it's like this long and nobody could ever pronounce it. So we're good.
Well, that's good. Well, I had come across Sandie through some mutual friends because I lived in the Reno area for a few years, and having just moved away recently. And so we have a mutual friend because I'm in the Polka Dot Powerhouse group with the Carson City branch. And somehow that connected me because I think you're friends with our chapter director, I think is how I found you. And so she had, just so that the listeners know, she had something up on her Facebook about a reading with minerals. Mm-hmm. And boy, did that catch my attention.
Oh,
it really caught my attention because, I had never heard of anybody doing work with minerals. Mm-hmm. And so I would love if we could just kind of jump in there and kind of talk about that for a little bit as we get to know it.
Sure. Okay. Well, many, many years ago, I used to read tarot, and I went, oh, I need something different. So I found this book, oh gosh, forever ago. And it said like fortune telling with crystals or something like that. I thought, okay, I bought the book, read it, said, nope, that's not how it works. So I started gathering, jaspers and quartz and just, just nice little minerals of all different kinds of sizes and colors. And what I did was I ended up with 117. I have a feather also, and a manzanita stick, and a couple of shells. And I programmed them with their own meanings. Oh. And so to give an intuitive reading, I asked my client to choose for a mini reading, it's 5, and for a full reading, it's 9. And they'll choose whatever stone or item they want. They put that in front of them on a mat, line it up in any way they want, because stone placement helps me give a reading too. And then the stones that they chose, that is, they're all, well, I should say programmed as a general meaning, with the general meaning, okay? And then I just intuit them, listen to what their spirit guides are telling me, their ancestors, and then I give them their reading. And that's it.
Wow. So even the placement of where they are in conjunction to you or each other, or?
Well, actually, for an example, if somebody chooses 9 stones, let's say, and they put them all in a square, that's showing me that they feel boxed in. And so I take the stones one by one, or if there's a group of 2 or 3 telling a story, I show them how to get out of that quote unquote box and start living life again. if I've had one, I had one lady that she stacked them up. And she had like all the flat stones and she just stacked them up. And I thought, wow, you have a lot of issues that are piled up on your shoulders right now. So we just intuited each and every stone. I took it off that pile. And so I could get her back into living life rather than feeling just overwhelmed and burdened under that big, on her shoulders, this big like Atlas feeling of overwhelmingness and stress.
Wow.
Yeah. So along with each stone, like for a general meaning with each that I have programmed the stones, like let's say you chose the stone that means finances. Okay. Well, I just intuit that and listen to your spirit guides that you could be getting a nice raise at work, or you could be using all of your paycheck down at the Nugget Casino, wasting it away when you need to get your bills paid.
Oh,
yeah. So a general meaning, intuitively, I can just kind of really dig on in and see what's coming up for you.
oh, I love that. What's so interesting is before we got on, I have, the back thing on with the big story, but I moved around some of my beautiful stuff, and this one came forward before we got on. Isn't she beautiful?
That is gorgeous.
And she's got these indications now that I've had her for several years. And yeah, she's just so beautiful. And
I
it's
can't really see it that well. What kind of stone is that?
She's a I was gonna say jasper. I think she's a jasper.
Okay. All right. Looks like kind of a popcorn jasper they might.
Yeah, she's like got some like moss green and a little bit of like, I would say mustard yellow, but a little bit of speckles. And she's got some imperfections now, and she's quite big.
Yes.
And
She
so
likes being with you too.
yeah, I love her. She was a gift,
Oh,
so.
nice. Well, that was a perfect gift. I love minerals because just like what you're doing, you've got the whole world right there in the palm of your hand.
I do. I also do a I'm gonna actually, I think, turn off my background because that way I can show my friends who are here. Right.
Okay.
There's my background.
Okay.
But I was bringing this little beauty with me everywhere, and she is a flower agate palm stone with a really huge imperfection here. And I picked this up last fall in my friend's shop, the Gaia Creations, down in San Luis Obispo. And she was on the podcast. She was my guest. And so I picked this up in her store, and I carried it and I carried it and I carried it. And the energy of her was so strong that now when I went to on a recent trip, I left her here. I didn't actually bring her because she wanted there. And then the other beauty that I've had recently is this beauty. And this is actually petrified rock.
Isn't that beautiful? Oh.
And when I got it through a friend that she was letting go some of her beauties, is that when I had it in the house the first time before I moved, she just changed the whole energy. Her energy was so strong, this petrified rock. And so she also, scooted up because she wanted to make sure she could say hi.
Hi guys. Love you all. Right. I like your rose quartz back there too.
Yeah, she is.
That's beautiful.
She's beautiful. Yeah. And then of course I have my dark one so that can
tourmaline.
Keeps everybody all the icky away.
Oh, that's wonderful. Beautiful.
Yeah. And look at the side of them. This one.
That interesting. Love it. I love it.
I just love that. So Anyway, go off on a tangent on
No,
my
that's okay.
on all the friends that I brought with me today that are
Right.
always here with me.
They love you too. That's awesome.
Oh gosh, I just love them. So I wanted to ask you a question because I've had on, so many people, season 1, season 2, and you hear us as we describe most of the healers I've had on go by the word intuitive, right?
Mhm.
It seems to be the new word, intuitive.
Right. Mhm.
So, and when I say something about their psychic, everybody like kind of almost freaks out.
Mhm.
Like you can feel like generational stuff, right? Like
Right.
with so many intuitives, right? The intuitive word now
Right.
is the big word. And so I'm interested to know, right? And so everybody else is, they're like, you really call yourself a psychic?
I do. And I'll tell you why. It could be a harsh, and I'm sure some people might think it might be a little bit harsh, but I learned a long, long time ago that if I use the word psychic, two things happen. One to my benefit, and then the other one also to my benefit. Okay. The first thing that might happen is people will go, oh, wow, that's so cool. Then they tell me their life stories, and that's all, well and fine. The second is people will go, oh my God, I don't believe in psychics. You scare me and you're weird and go away. And it's like, well, good, because then I don't have to fool with you.
I don't want all that energy anyway.
That's right. Exactly. So they go away, and then the good people come and tell me all they want to tell me and come for a reading, which, if I could boast, you can contact me for a reading at my website, which is www.sandiepsychicstones.com. And I spell my name Sandies.
Oh, yes. I
Yeah.
love that because
Uh-huh.
I just think it's so, can you imagine like when you started your readings back in 1984? That's a good year because I graduated from high school, but
Nice.
so I have an affection for 1984.
Right.
And it probably, you've seen, I can't even imagine the changes you've seen and the amount of people now like who are in this or who have come out, I say come out of the closet, right? With
Right.
of that they've always been intuitive or psychic or
Right.
whatever word that they are you know resonating with. And so I'm really curious to hear about how you got to this point where you're like, nope, this is what I do, this is who I am, and then all of the changes that you've seen over the last period of time. It'd be fascinating to know
Long
that,
time.
but yeah.
Well, let's see. To go way back in time, I think my very first vision that I had, I'm going to say it's a vision, was when I was about 3 years old. My mother put me down for a nap, and all of a sudden I got so homesick. And I was having a vision in my mind about like a marketplace over in the Middle East. And I was so homesick, and I couldn't figure out why I am at home. Well, growing up, I didn't have any mentors. Nobody could tell me the visions that I'm seeing are okay. The voices that I'm hearing, it's all okay. And it really wasn't until, I would say maybe in my mid-20s, that I actually started meeting people that gave me titles, that gave me reasons. And they just helped guide me, where before it was just utter and complete chaos in my mind and in my emotions. I can remember when I think I was in 7th grade. I was in art class, and all of a sudden I start spewing forth this catastrophe that was going to be happening. And people looked at me like, you really need to be in a rubber room. And it was then that I realized a lot of people, they weren't intuitive and psychic. I thought everybody on the face of the earth had, well, my ability. So as a teenager, of course, I tried to suppress it so I could be a teenager and live. But my spirit guide said, no, it just got more and more powerful, got a little more chaotic. And then, like I was mentioning a minute ago, I guess it was in my 20s, I met people that gave me titles and guided me to know and to understand my abilities to the fullest potential. Said, you've got it, go for it. Don't try and hide it. Don't try and suppress it. So with my readings as well, I've had a lot of people say, well, I think I'm kind of psychic, but I'm afraid of it. And so I tell them, well, don't be. It's an ability. If you'd like to, embrace it. And if it, scares you, then that's okay. You just have other things to do in life. But there's been a lot of people that have been young kids all the way up to, let me see. I've had a couple of women in their 80s, and it's like, do you think I can be psychic? And it's like, I sure do. Here, I'll help you embrace it and learn it and hone it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful gift to give them.
Yeah. I always welcome them. It's like, welcome to the fold. It's your time to learn. It's your time to, read some books, talk to other people. And then what's fascinating is that once that you tell the universe, I'm ready, oh my gosh, the people, places, and things just literally fall right into your lap, because the universe is very, very happy that you're going to be learning about yourself so you can help others learn.
Most definitely. It's amazing how that happens no matter what we do, right? We just ask for it. So since you've been doing so many readings, long before people did them online, 1984, we didn't have Zoom,
right?
Or these type of capacities,
right?
to be able to do that. So I can even imagine how many people you've seen in person,
Sure.
coming up into the Reno, Carson City area, and hey, I'm gonna go have a reading done, and is there anybody who you've come across that's maybe not by name, but that you are like, yeah, have you met with people who are like well known or?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Celebrities, sports owners or sports company or whatever.
Yeah.
Politically, politics, every walk of life, actually. Yeah. And it's fun because I've had people scared to death. Okay. They have come to me and they're literally shaking. And I tell them right off the bat, well, look, I'm going to give you a reading. I don't bite, but I do nibble. And when I tell them that, you can just see them relaxing. And all of my readings, I try and give upbeat readings, even if there's an unpleasant, event that's coming up. The thing that I believe in is if you're aware of, let's just say something unpleasant that, is in your future, once you know about it, you can stop it. You can tell it not to come into your life. And I can help you, if an unpleasant situation is popping up, I can help you by giving you the reading, but also talking to your spirit guide saying, hey, this person doesn't want this, send it next door to the neighbors, don't let them go through this. They've been through enough. So many, many times I've had people come in and they're really stressed out because of a situation or circumstance. They'll come in, right now I'm reading out of my home, but I have read at metaphysical fairs and stores and things like that. And they'll come in and they're just, they're slumped shouldered. They're, kind of frowning a bit or tears in their eyes. And, it's a wonderful gift that I give them this reading. And it's a wonderful gift when they leave. They're standing straight. They're smiling. They have their aura has changed. And they always say, can I give you a hug? And it's like, hugs are required. So it's a beautiful gift that they give me when they walk out. They're smiling, they're confident, and they're happy because they know that their future is going to be, well, a lot better than when they first walked through the door.
Oh, what a gift. Well, and your energy is just so like warm and huggy.
Oh,
You know,
thank you.
like I want to hug you. Like you just allude like this what's the word? Like calm but almost motherly, like it's this really grounded feeling, and then you have such a great sense of humor.
Thank you.
I just I can see why, when they come in, how you would instantly make people relax,
Oh, thank you.
you
That's what
know.
I try and do because, I mean, I'm human. I get stressed out. So if I can get around somebody with calming energies, some of my friends were, they're psychics and things too. It's nice to get around people that have calming energies because it helps me relax and it helps me really think about, is the ink in my pen really going to, wear out today or tomorrow? Oh, good if it goes away. Get a new pen.
I love that. So I know that we talked about that you have written 27 books.
Yes, yes.
And you've done them in historical paranormal, sorry,
Right.
describing the history of particular buildings and the paranormal findings
Mhm.
that you and the Thin Veil investigations have discovered.
Right.
I find that really interesting because I know Reno, Carson City has a lot of history. Um, is there someplace I shouldn't go? So because as a sensitive, it makes me uncomfortable. So there's some place you shouldn't go if you're that person, or what do you think has some really good history? This is a big loaded question. Probably
Okay.
should have told you before, but it
That's
just
all
came to
right.
mind. Like there's got to be some really interesting stuff that you have seen and experienced going through historical buildings.
Sure. Yeah, we've found interesting things. We've also found very scary things. That's real interesting. There is a beautiful old, it was built in 1864 here in Carson City called the St. Charles Hotel. And the paranormal group that I'm part of, Thin Veil Investigators, we for many years gave tours there. We can't anymore because they're renovating it and it's kind of losing its savvy about being haunted and stuff because it's looking way too new. But there was one time we were in there and we were filming for my TV show, which is called Psychic Creations. You can watch it on YouTube. And my producer walked into one of the rooms and he wears glasses and he got slapped there was a young, he's probably about 16, 17-year-old boy, a spirit boy. And I guess that he didn't like Michael. And so he slapped him. And that's all on tape. Yeah, that's all on film. And so he came out of the room real quick. And even his face was warm, like if you were going to slap somebody, his face was warm. And so we've had things like that happen. We've also, investigated a lot of historical places around here, like you said, especially at Virginia City. That's kind of a mecca of, of ghosts. Okay. And I would like to say that the group that I am part of, we're kind of a unique investigative group because we're all psychics. We all have our certain abilities, okay, that we see, we hear, we intuit, we sense. I happen, if I can boast, I love it. I happen to have an ability where I see ghosts. Like that old movie, Sixth Sense, I see ghosts. Yeah, join the club, kid, join the club. I love having that ability because, all the spirits, they can see that I can see them and they like to talk. And with my other team members, we really get a lot of information to where sometimes we call our investigations a history investigation Because when we're talking to someone that was, around in 1864, they give us information to where we can research that and find out that, well, yeah, Mr. Brown, he was at this particular building in 1864. It's fascinating.
That is fascinating. I haven't written a book, but I have a draft, right? Kind of outline of a book that I'm doing. And it has to do with, because I've done generational healing that goes back like 7 generations. So I started to get really curious about, like, well, who are these people? My family, for one thing, right? Like, I think I knew like who maybe 3 or 4 are back, right? My mother's grandmother, so 4 generations. And so then I started looking at like finding like when they're born, that type of information, when they passed away, where they lived. And I and just seeing like what was happening with history at that point. And I met with one of the gals who I've had on here, and we met because we had done work before, and she has people come to see her too. That's her one of her gifts as well. And so I was like, well, I'm thinking about writing this book, but there's so much I don't know. And she says, well, let's just have we had a session, and then she called forth my grandmother. And actually, they all came, like all these women came. It was a whole room full of women who are somehow in my lineage, right? I don't know them all yet. And I said, well, I want to share a book about like just what that looks like in my family, like with some stories and stuff. And so we just basically wanted to ask their permission. Oh, that's just so, somebody just popped in, I guess. But I wanted their permission, and they all were like, yes, because we have found out, like, so many women, so many generations of women, there's been a lot of sexual abuse, right? Sexual abuse or somehow trauma around sex. And so I myself, my generation has stopped that. And so I am doing in this healing, I want to be able to heal their trauma and have them tell me their stories. And I had one come forth and said that she actually, as a teenager, they were looking to make women vote, and she was out in some like not Nebraska, but something like, I think it was around Nebraska, and she would hold up signs. And I thought, wow, that's the kind of women I'm from, like, wow, it's so powerful to be able to like help people, like be able to connect so that you can find out like real life information that people can go research and go, my gosh, that's true, right? Like,
Oh, wonderful. Well, good luck to you on your book. And I just wanted to add something with that. Your psychic abilities, your intuitive abilities, it's all handed down from generation to generation. Having that ability is I guess an inheritance, I guess. Yeah. Because my mother was, but she came from a generation where, you don't talk about that kind of stuff. And my daughter is very, very psychic, but now she's in the corporate world. So she kind of, pushes it back a little bit, but her spirit guides are always saying, excuse me, we need to tell you something.
Right? Like, does she have where she's you're there and you're going into a meeting and you may not know, but something's happening.
Right.
Like, yeah, sure, this isn't what they say is happening.
Oh yeah, she's very intuitive too. So
yeah. Oh, see, that's interesting, right? It's intuitive. It's handed down from, how many generations ago where they weren't able to really claim it or talk out loud, or would we have to do meet in secret and
exactly. Or maybe it was just really close family members that knew, great grandma had a gift. So sure. It just wasn't talked about like it is, well, nowadays. I don't know if it was accepted like it is nowadays, but I'm sure like what you just said there is very, very, they just had to have like close knit family or friends that they could speak to or talk to about it.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that in this day and age where anybody's able to embrace it if they want to and learn and grow with it. Because like I was saying, you know, I've had some elderly women come to me and said, I'd really like to learn this. Well, yay. You know, I'm glad that
Yeah.
you're 70 years old and you want to embrace your abilities now. We have to. We're powerful and we're awesome.
Oh my gosh, aren't we though? I mean, just to be able to accept who you are,
Yes. Yeah.
with whatever that looks like, right?
Right.
Whatever,
Sure.
people are so comfortable with is so powerful. And it's really, I think that's what brings the light to our world is, being free to be who you are.
I think it's time now too,
Mhm.
just because of the world. I think it's been time for probably about 30 years or so that there's been a lot of people that are now coming out for the past maybe 30 years, could be longer, that are embracing or learning about and embracing their abilities and helping others. And I really feel, well, I'm hoping to, but I really feel that there's going to be even more and more powerful women coming forth because this world needs us.
Mhm.
We can guide the world to a better place. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Yeah. And
Yeah.
some of my visions that I've had, I really truly believe that's where we're headed. You know, we're all coming out to help.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting how we all do it in different and yet similar ways.
Sure.
So I'd like to hear, like, I know you have your radio
Mhm.
show.
Yeah.
And
Have
who
to
do
have
you,
you on it.
yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be lots of fun. So how did you come up with wanting to be on radio?
Oh, well, let's see. A few years ago, there was a mutual friend, and there's a brand new radio station that started here in Carson City, Nevada. And she asked me to be her guest. And I went, okay, cool. So I got on, I talked. Well, the producer was standing there going, when the show was over, he said, can we have a program with you? Would you like to be, hosting your own program? I went, now that would be interesting because I love to talk. And so I said, I'm a psychic. Everything I do has got the word psychic in it. He said, okay. So my radio show is called Sandie's, what is it called? Psychic Communications. Was my TV show. And so he said, that's great. And what I do is, even with my TV show, which is called Psychic Creations, I interview people from all walks of life, whatever they're doing, because I love to show off people and what their talents are, what their interests are. I just like to get out there what everybody's doing, because it's just they're both at Access TV and community radio. But I like everybody in our region to know that this person owns a restaurant and that person reads tarot cards and this person is an author and that person's a musician. So listen to their songs. I love showing people off, getting them out there into the world so they can be noticed by other people.
Oh, isn't that so beautiful that we're both like, that's what we do. Like, I
Mhm.
love to talk too.
Yeah.
So,
You're an awesome networker and a connector too. I like what you're doing.
yeah, I love, I really want people to have access to all of the brilliant people that I am meeting or I've connected with through another connection or a group that I'm part of. It's just been an overwhelming amount of love, and to know that you're able to do that too, do you find that as fulfilling as I know I do? It's,
I do. Mhm.
because You have to get, I remember taking a marketing class years ago, and it was telling me, like, we have to get comfortable talking about what we do,
Yes.
because you could have written the best book in the world, but if there's no marketing, people actually don't know it's there,
Right. Right.
then nobody will read it. And it could be some other book that just is a part of a marketing machine
Mhm.
and not even that all that great, and it can be a bestseller
Exactly.
from
Yeah.
marketing, from people sharing and talking. And I think the more of us who are out there sharing this about everybody's special gifts. So here's a question then.
Okay.
Thinking about that with your psychic abilities. So when people come in, I want to guess on what's their number one thing that they want to know about that you
With an
find.
intuitive reading?
Yep, with an intuitive reading.
Oh, let's see. I would say love, money, and I think following that would be happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I think following that is their health, and then family. But
Yeah.
usually money and love is just right, the two top, right there.
Right.
That's right where we're at.
That's what
Because
I
it's
think of.
important to people.
Money. Yeah.
People need the money to live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can tell if they're greedy or if they're really needing the funds. But then people are always looking for love. I'm always looking for love, and everybody's
Right.
looking for love. And so if I can help them find that or guide them to a place to, where they'll feel comfortable finding it, well, then that's cool. And then we get into, well, just the other things that are coming up. Now, a lot of times they'll come in, they don't even have a question. Okay. I can tell what's needed to tell them in their life just because of the stones that they have chosen. Because each stone is programmed with love, with every circumstance and situation, person, place, and thing. There's because there's 117, there's all kinds of scenarios that I can just pick up on, and I can tell, like, if they can pick up my legal stone, and I know that they're, having something legal coming up, or their child stone, or their work stone, or I can even tell them, oh, if their car needs maintenance. I mean, it's just every situation I can talk to them.
That's so funny. So the first stone I had picked up
Okay.
is in the shade of a heart.
Right.
That the audience can't see, but it is the shade of the heart. And I really do believe this is Jupiter, but so that was just so funny, because when I was thinking to myself, what's the number one thing I would want to know? And that is love. And I have an upcoming move happening. And I thought to myself, I was texting with a girlfriend and she's like, aren't you excited? And I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. And she goes, no, really, you know why you're extra excited, right? And I'm like, okay. And she goes, you know what's going to happen. And I was like, well, I don't know, but sure.
Are you with a partner right now?
No,
Are you single?
I'm single. I'm divorced. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking that she was probably thinking that when you get to your new job, your heart is going to go all aflutter.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an old word. I like
Right,
that.
right. Isn't that funny? So I thought to myself, well, I don't know, like, oh, maybe eventually, but it was she was just so funny the way she explained it, right? And she is not, she doesn't claim to be an intuitive at all, like nothing at all, right? She's just a friend, and we've talked through her dating scenarios, of at the last couple of years in Reno. And so it was just a really fun conversation. We were like, well, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
Nothing to do with psychic, or being intuitive or anything. So it was just really fun. So out of all the things that you do, because you do so much, you have your TV show, your radio show, You've written so many books. You're part of the Thin Veil, community. You help people with readings. What is your, I don't want to say your favorite thing, because I know
Mhm.
they all have a different place into it. But if somebody is thinking about, well, I'm really interested in, you know, having a psychic reading, for instance, you know, is it better for them, or is it would they get the most out of it if they do come with like ideas, or just how you said some people just kind of show up and they pick out different minerals and
Mhm. A lot will come in with a question or questions in mind.
Mhm.
Sure, because they want to find out a specific thing. But sometimes they'll just come in and what I call a general reading. They'll just choose their stones, and then I can tell them what's going on. Well, maybe with a circumstance or situation that's going on right now,
Mhm.
or, and then of course, future events. So I'd have to say it's 50-50 both ways, coming in with questions or just coming in to see what's going on.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's fun.
So where have you in all of the all this wonderful stuff that you've done, what do you have any stories or something that really stuck out too that you think that people would enjoy hearing?
Oh goodness, I have all kinds of stories. Let's see. If you go back into the ghosts, I wanted to say that if somebody's interested in ghosts and the paranormal, go up to Virginia City, okay, because it's a really cool historic place. But that place is haunted. Oh, wow. If you really want to embrace your abilities, becoming a psychic, go up there because all the spirits will say, hey, let's help you see us. It's wonderful. Now, I've given, if I could butt into my own conversation here, with some of my books, I give PowerPoint presentations with them. And one of my lectures happens to be a book, well, quite a few of them up there in Virginia City. And always, 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 at the end of the lecture, people will say, what's the most haunted place in Virginia City? And I look at them very calmly, very coolly, and I tell them, and you can just say they're just shaking because they're in anticipation. I tell them, people's homes. And they look at me so funny. It's like, we didn't hear her right. And I tell them, yeah, people's homes. And they say, why? A bar, a hotel. It's like, that place had almost 80,000 people in the region. And I said, only about maybe 3% of that went to bars, went to the brothels. You were outlaws. The rest of them were God-fearing people. They had stores, they had families, they went to church. When they die, they're going to go back home. They're not going to go to a bar and sit there for all the tourists in this day and age to shake hands with. They're going to go back home to be with their families. And when I explained that to them, they all like, sure. It's fun to see that. So that's one story. I don't know if that was a story or not, but
No, I actually believe that though too, with when I've been in, where you go to purchase homes, and so you're going into homes, and there have been times in every journey of purchasing the home where I've walked into a home. One of them was when I lived out in Stockton, California. I remember walking into a home and we walked around and I was like, no, never.
oh,
Like, no, I am not going to be in this home. And I also had that actually happen in when I lived out in Laramie, Wyoming. It was a home I think that had been built in the 70s.
mhm.
And it had these couple weird doorways like on the in the basement, and how the locks were on the outside of the door. And I was with my realtor and I'm like, they need to burn this house. I actually, and he's like, what? And I'm like, no, I don't know who it happened to, but well, it was boys that it happened to, but I go, something, this is not right. And he and the house had been empty, he was having a hard time selling it. And I'm like, I don't know what the house, that maybe it looked like this was a lot, a up and up family,
Okay.
but there was something happening in this house.
Hmm.
And he's like, okay, guess you're not going to want this house. And I'm like, no, this is why they've professionally staged it. Like, you could just feel the heebie jeebies in this place. And
Sure.
he's like, yeah, he goes, I can even feel it. And I'm like, I'm telling you, like, never again. I go, we need to clear ourselves from this house.
Right. Oh,
So
yeah.
when you say that about the houses, it's
Mhm,
so true. You can like feel things. It's almost like
mhm.
the walls, like that. Is it a book or movie? If these walls could talk.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, if I can add to that, I'm also what you call a remote viewer. And I have had people come to me, real estate people
Hmm.
that, they know me. They've come to me and they're saying, at, 123 Elm Street, we're trying to sell this house. Can you go visit it and see what's going on? And so what a remote viewer does is I can sit here in front of my computer, you give me a coordinate or an address, and boom, I'm there. So I can, walk around the house and I can see that, maybe there was, for an example, grandma, she passed away in one of the bedrooms. And I tell them it might be good to have, somebody come in on a spiritual or religious or scientific way and cleanse that house. Because if not, well, grandma's not going to go anywhere. She wants to stay in her bedroom. And so with the remote viewing, I can help some real estate agents and or other people, just like what you do. You were looking into a home, seeing if it was, going to be a nice residence for you, but you felt like, whoa, no way. So the remote viewing ability is, I really like that. I really like doing that. And if I could see, it's very, very interesting for me to work with FBI agents on cold cases.
Hmm.
I can help find people and get them home. And then what I've been doing the past, maybe about 5 years, is I'm helping with archaeological excavation companies finding ruins.
Oh.
The farthest I've gone back with that is 80,000 years into a place in Mexico. And then I also have a friend, she's a filmographer, and she's also a historian, and she's a documentary artist. And she lives in Rome, Italy. And so she'll send me a coordinate because a lot of ruins over there, they don't have addresses. And so she will send me a coordinate and I will go and remote view that particular ruin or place or building, give her my findings, and then she researches that, and then she makes little documentaries out of what I found and what she puts the history to. I really love my remote viewing abilities because, well, just like with my reading my stones, I can help people that way.
Hmm.
And especially when there's been cold cases and people are looking for their kids. Um, I really like having that ability that my visions, when I see things, they're not all that pleasant, but at least I can get those kids home. I can get those people home. I
Yeah.
can give their families closure. And then with the archaeological excavations, I can go into the earth a couple of miles and, and see what's buried there, that sometimes even their machines can't see, but I can dig myself into the ground and find out what civilization was there 10,000 years ago. That's fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
what is the ability to give the history to people, to
Mhm.
help people understand, and to be able to get somebody home.
I love that. I am so glad that whoever and whatever bestowed upon me that gift. because I have a daughter. My only child. I mean, I would come unglued if something ever happened to her. And so I know as a parent, I know that, if your child's been lost for 30 years, you know, you want to bring her home, him or her home,
Mhm.
so they can rest with you. Yeah. One, if I can talk about a story, was quite a few years ago. I think it was in 1988. There was a Girl Scout troop that went camping. And there was a maintenance man at this camp that, well, kind of liked one of the girls, and he killed her, and nobody could find her. And of course, they closed down the camp. Well, here it is all these years later. I think it was about maybe 6 years ago. Somebody got a hold of me and they said, "Can you find her?" Well, on the way into this camp, it was in a forested area. On the way into this camp, it was a dirt road. And on each side of the dirt road, there was these berms, just where the road had been plowed, and all the dirt was up in these little berms. I said, "She's just right under your nose. She's right underneath one of those." So I gave them kind of a general area of where she was buried, and it was just underneath, right there by the road, and they found her. So she could get home. Yeah. So they just, and everybody, when they ask me these things, is, "How do you know that?" It's like, well, kind of psychic here.
Yeah.
I can help you. Yeah. So with all of my psychic abilities, like I said, I see wonderful things for people, but I also see some things that just aren't that pleasant. But I will put myself through that. Not that it's all about me or anything, but I can put myself through that so I can help that child, or that even animals, to get home where they need to be. So anyway, so
Well, I just can't even imagine. That was just so I mean, what peace that you can I mean, that's a huge piece, right? Those parents have been carrying that around, all of the friends that were there,
right.
you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
that is such a gift.
No, thank you. I love
Such a
that. That
gift.
that makes me tear up because of the people that I've helped, and the kids that have gotten home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is your worst fear as a parent, that something's, gonna happen,
Right.
and then it unfortunately does happen.
Mhm.
And to know, I used to watch this TV show it's been a while now, but it was the blonde gal who was on the show, and she worked in the show. She was a real psychic who worked out of, I think it was Arizona, who was doing cases. And of course, I can't think of her name, of her, the actress that was playing her. Um, but it was really powerful to watch, even
Oh.
just the show
Uh-huh.
itself, with how, I mean, it was based upon the books that she had written, the TV show.
Oh.
And I wish I could think of her name.
Oh, wasn't that the Ghost Whisperer? No.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. She's real pretty. She had long dark hair. Um, oh, what was that called? Ghost Whisperer or something
Yeah,
like
the
that?
Ghost Whisperer was one. Yeah, that was one. And then this
Oh,
one's
okay.
even older than that. She
Oh,
was she was a blonde actress. I'll have to think about it because
oh,
it was
okay.
so good, right? Like
Oh,
she was a mom, had a couple kids, and a husband, and she'd get these calls, and they would come in like dreams, and then she'd have to
oh,
share. And yeah, like it was just really
fun.
it was just a really interesting,
Mhm,
to watch, because
mhm.
she was also doing it to help bring peace to
Uh-huh,
families, whether, oh no, she's still here, like,
mhm.
to try to help them find. And she did all of her work with the local police department. I think she was like based out of Phoenix or something.
Oh,
um
okay.
so I have to think about that now. I'm going to go Google it when we're done,
Okay.
because now I'm like curious to know who it was. But
Right.
this has been, such a pleasure, Sandie. Would you, I know you've shared it, but would you share with people how they can reach you
Sure.
for
Oh,
any
yeah.
of these beautiful gifts that you have?
Oh,
I
thank
mean,
you. Oh, I love, well, I just love giving to people what they need. If they need help or guidance, I just love doing that. So, yes, you can get a hold of me at my website, which is www.sandiespsychicstones.com. And I'm all over the place on Facebook. And I have things other places. I just don't have time to get on them. So, but I do get on Facebook and tell everybody hello. But my website, and then if you want to, can I give my email address
or your radio show or
oh, okay. The radio show is KNVC 95.1 FM in Carson City. And on YouTube, it's what is it? Psychic Psychic Stones TV. I think that's what it's called. I can never remember the name of it. That's on that is on YouTube. Mhm. If you want to become a guest, we can figure out how we can film you. Also, too, radio show. If you want to be a guest, we can do Zoom meetings. Yeah, because right
nice.
now, because of COVID, we can't go into the studio.
Yeah.
So let me see what else. Well, you can get a hold of me with my email address through my website there.
Okay. Yeah. Or they can reach out here and I'd gladly put them in touch
Oh,
with you too. I'm
nice.
going to keep all of that in the show notes, folks, so that you can go there too.
Mhm.
Just in case you're driving, because I know a lot of you are driving while you're listening to this or you're doing other things. So it will all be in the show notes, or you can just send me a message too. And we'll get you connected. So this has been such a pleasure, Sandie.
Well, it's been a true honor. I love to talk, so
Yeah.
it's a true honor, though. Thank you so much for thinking of me for this show.
Thank you.